Is there cause for concern with Rafael Devers right now? It sure seems like there very much might be, as he's been struggling to find his swing at the plate lately as the Red Sox fight for wildcard contention.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Red Sox. Thank you for making the show your first listen of every day. Locked On Red Sox is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Hurlbut, former ESPN digital video social media associate and host of the Boston Balling podcast. I love the Red Sox. My first jersey growing up was Nomar Garciaparra, so I grew up with all things Red Sox and have been a diehard fan ever since. So I am here to help talk about a series that definitely didn't end as we all would have hoped that it would for the Red Sox. Happy Friday. You made it to the end of the week. Congratulations. Very excited for all of you. Hope everyone has fun weekend plans. Today's episode is brought to you by Birddogs. Go to birddogs.com/lockedonmlb and they'll throw in a free custom Birddogs Yeti-style tumbler with every order. With that being said, I mentioned this already, but the Red Sox, this series against the Twins started off really well and felt like it had a lot of potential because they provided a lot of offense in the first couple games and they were putting things together. They were on a roll. They were on a win streak after coming off of taking the last game from the Rockies and then sweeping the Yankees. And as a fan, you really felt good going into the series against Minnesota because the offense appeared to be back to what it had been at the beginning of the season that we had really seen. And the first two games of the series were definitely resembling that. And I know for me, it was enjoyable to watch. And then, Wednesday's game was very frustrating because they had a lot of chances to win that game and they beat themselves with base running mistakes, defensive deficiencies, and it was almost the same mistakes that we've seen for a lot of the season from this team that I thought was starting to get fixed and really wasn't. And so when they do start to fix those problems and they're continuing to happen, it's really frustrating. So I'm going to break that down. Today's show is going to talk a lot about Brandon Walter, who made his major league debut in Thursday's game, the series finale against the Twins. So I'm going to go into a little bit about him and what it means going forward for him and some of the other Red Sox pitchers that we've seen make debuts at the major league level this season so far. We're going to talk about Rafael Devers. He's been struggling at the plate, and I'm not sure why, but I'm going to give a little bit of an insight as to what I suspect the problem is. And I'm going to go into Justin Turner. This is a name that has been tossed around with the fans recently about potentially a trade scenario if the Red Sox do decide to be sellers at the trade deadline. I'm going to tell you my thoughts on that as well and why he's not going anywhere and why he is a really important asset to this team. So first, obviously, like I touched on, the Twins really showed up on Thursday in that series finale after the frustrating loss on Wednesday night. I was hoping the Red Sox would come out trying to win that series on Thursday. And it's the type of series that you really should be winning. And it was winnable. And they had multiple chances Wednesday night to close it out and they couldn't, and then ended up losing in extra innings. So that makes Thursday's loss a little bit more frustrating because if they won Wednesday night's game, then Thursday's loss would not have been as bad. So it's just definitely a little bit frustrating because I'm looking at it as a situation where they could have won. But, I give Joe Ryan, the Twins pitcher on Thursday, a ton of credit. I mean, he really pitched well, and he deserves the credit that he got. Complete game shutout, gave up just 3 hits on 9 strikeouts. One of the Red Sox hits actually came from David Hamilton, who made his debut at shortstop in the game. And that's really exciting for him to record his first major league hit. Hopefully things only trend upward for him. There's a lot of infield depth right now that the Red Sox have. unfortunately, due to injuries, we've seen some swapping go on within the infield, but he's been, you know, working his way up and working his way in the system. And I hope that he can continue to be used and be utilized. And the fact that he got his first major league hit on Thursday is definitely a confidence boost for him, I would think. So hopefully that continues to progress. Somebody else who really performed well in the game was pitcher Brandon Walter, who came in the second inning in relief of Justin Garza, who pitched to just 7 hitters and got hit hard. He allowed 4 hits in those 7 hitters that he did face. And so he got through the first inning, but couldn't make it through the second. So they brought in Brandon Walter, who did pitch the majority of the game after that. He pitched 6.2 innings, giving up 6 hits on just 3 earned runs with 2 Ks over 92 pitches. So he was pretty reliable for a lot of the game. And I'm happy that the Red Sox gave him that opportunity because we were able to start to get a sense of really him and what he's like and as a pitcher and what we can expect. And, he looked confident. He started off kind of slow because I believe it was just some nerves kicking in his first, major league outing. His family was there watching. It can be a nerve-wracking thing for a pitcher. So he came in the second inning, gave up a couple hits and a walk, and a couple runs came in. But after that, he settled down significantly. I mean, for the next 6 innings, he looked really relaxed on the field, and he looked like he had his command and he was figuring everything out. And I give a lot of credit to Connor Wong because there's been just quite a few different things that have happened with this pitching staff this year in terms of changes that have been made, pitchers getting injured, people being called up. And he's really, really stepped up and been able to adapt to whatever pitcher he has on the mound. And I think that's been a serious help. So Brandon Walter, to me, set a message that he could be here to stay and he wants to make his mark at the major league level. So I would like to see more from him. I think he, pitched really well. And even though it was a frustrating day overall for the Red Sox, that was definitely a bright spot that I'm looking at. And he's somebody who I could see being a good part of the future. And obviously it's a small sample size, and Chris Murphy and Joe Jacques are other examples of this. Chris Murphy, super small sample size. We've only seen him pitch in 2 games, 6 innings, 8 strikeouts. Joe Jacques, 2.08 earned run average, 4 games he's pitched in, 4.1 innings pitched, 3 strikeouts. He actually came in to pitch and wrap things up on a Thursday in that game. So those 3 pitchers right there, we're seeing, what could be the future of the Red Sox rotation. And we've talked about this a little bit on Twitter, correspondence, me and other Red Sox fans. And Bayo, Whitlock, and Houck are really, really strong. But being able to have these guys that could potentially be rotation or bullpen pieces in the future makes it look like a really good pitching staff moving forward. So I'm really excited to see how they continue to progress. I do hope that they get some more opportunities on the mound, and just with the current state of the Red Sox pitching staff, I do believe they will get those opportunities, and being able to pitch in pressure situations could be huge for them. It was a tough day for the Red Sox, and Walter came in a tough spot when the Red Sox were already down, but I think he made the most of the situation. He was able to get his reps in, and that's all you can really ask for somebody who literally was making their debut that day. So from that standpoint, happy with what I saw. Yes, it was a frustrating day for the Red Sox and a frustrating end to a series that they really should have won. But you've got to brush it off and just take 2 from the White Sox at least, because they are another beatable team. And I really am liking how the team's progressing. I do think they're starting to click a little bit more and figure things out and, be the team that we hope to see at the beginning of the season. Whether that's a playoff team is still yet to be seen, but just got to brush off this series, brush off the mistakes, and just move on. I mean, again, like I said at the top of the show, Joe Ryan deserves a ton of credit for his start on Thursday. Just really, really mowed over the Red Sox lineup. They had no answers for him. They couldn't work his pitch count. as a result, he pitched the entire 9-inning game, which you rarely see in today's game. Ton of props to him, but the Red Sox got to bounce back, and I hope Brandon Walter gets more opportunities. Coming up, this man is supposed to be a star for the Red Sox, somebody who we have a lot of expectations for and is supposed to be really the core of the future for this team. And he's been struggling at the plate. Rafael Devers. I'm going to just touch on it next as to why that might be the case. But you are all familiar with FanDuel. We all love sports betting. It's a lot of fun. And FanDuel obviously is one of the biggest sports betting companies in the country. Baseball season is in full swing, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers get a no sweat bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Wow. Just go to fanduel.com/lockedon to join today. That's a really, really good deal because obviously you're not going to hit on every bet. And I understand the frustration of not hitting on bets. So I really recommend doing this. I mean, the Reds open up against the Braves this weekend, my friends. Tonight, that series should be really good. The Reds are red hot right now. They're the hottest team in baseball. The Braves are playing really good baseball as well. Best team in their division. Kind of taking that Reds money line because they're really, really hot right now. And that could win you a lot of money if you take that bet. So definitely hop on to FanDuel. Don't miss your chance to snag a no sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to fanduel.com/lockedon to sign up. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission. I love FanDuel personally. I think it's a lot of fun and it's cool to navigate and see what all the different bets are and see what everybody's betting on. You really can win a lot of money that way. And I really highly recommend that you check that out. Locked On Red Sox fans, again, really appreciate you making the show your first listen of every day. Coming up on Monday's episode, I'll dissect why Brayan Bello could be an ace caliber pitcher going forward. You heard me right. Ace caliber pitcher. It's all coming up on the discussion on Monday on Locked On Red Sox. So be sure to tune in as your first listen Monday morning to the show where I will discuss Brayan Bello and what his future with the Red Sox could look like. Right now, though, I'm going to talk about another man who we had a lot higher expectations, I feel like, as a fan base going into the season for him than what he's actually been showing. Rafael Devers. I love Rafi. They just signed him to a massive extension, and that's really cool for him and well-deserving because he has worked really hard and he has earned that extension, and he is currently the face of the Boston Red Sox, and he's somebody who's versatile and you can, rely on to do a lot of things. His defense has gotten significantly better this year, so I like that they've really worked with him on his glove at third base, and we've noticed those improvements. And I really like that. I think that's super important because defense is just as important as offense. And we've seen the Red Sox make a lot of defensive mistakes this season. And Rafi has been responsible for some, but not nearly as many as he used to be. So that's a plus to his game. But where he's really, really struggling right now is at the plate. He just has not been performing to the expectation of the fan base right now. And you can easily look at his stats, and that does show that. I mean, prior to his hit on Thursday in the game against the Twins, he was 6 for 37 over his last 10 games. That's a rough number. And for somebody like Devers, who makes contact a lot more than that and can find himself on base, that is a pretty tough stat to swallow. And he's batting .238 right now, which is not ideal for somebody who is supposed to be one of the best hitters in your lineup. So what I will say about that, one of the biggest things I've noticed with Devers this season is he hasn't been nearly as patient at the plate. He used to take a lot more walks, and he's not really doing that anymore. He's kind of not being as selective with his pitches and that he's taking, and he's jumping the gun a lot and going after pitches early on in counts. And just not being productive with the at bat. He's not working pitchers' pitch counts. He's just almost being impatient at the plate. And that's just uncharacteristic of Devers, who used to be somebody who could put up more competitive at bats. And he still has his power. He's still hitting hard. We've seen him hit a couple home runs recently against the Yankees, and he'll hit hard baseballs. And that's good and all, but you need to be able to have smart at bats to go with that. And that to me is what he's lacking right now. And so, he's been striking out quite a bit this year. He has 66 strikeouts, which is a pretty high number for him. One of the highest strikeout rates on the Red Sox right now. I think he can figure it out. I do believe that we've seen over the last couple of weeks improvement in his at-bats in terms of taking walks. He's not really getting a lot of big hits with runners on base, though, which is something to look out for. And it could be a variety of different reasons. Signing a long-term contract automatically does put a target on a player's back. The fan base expects a lot from you. The front office expects a lot from you. The coaching staff expects a lot from you. So there's definitely some pressure that comes with a player signing that type of contract. And if you think about it, Bogaerts was his best friend on the team. They still talk every day and they're still really close. And he really looked up to Bogaerts as a mentor. And he really helped guide him and gain that confidence that he had. And now Devers is really looked upon to be that leader of the team. And there's a lot of young talent coming in now because the Red Sox are really starting to kind of get reps for some of their younger talent that they have coming up. So Devers really needs to be that guy who can be a leader for the team and help guide others in the right direction. And so I believe he's still trying to get used to being in that role while also trying to focus on his own game. And that mentally can be a lot. Sometimes people don't think about how hard that can be for a player to be in that type of position and mentally focus on your own game, because baseball is a very mental sport and not everybody can handle it consistently at the major league level. And that's why so many players don't even get to that level. So for Devers, it's a really similar thing. I think he needs to focus on, just working counts and not being afraid to take walks and not being afraid to hold off on swinging at pitches that don't look good, while also just continuing to rally the team and keep the team in check. And I will tell you all right now, I'm not really concerned about Devers to the point where I'm going to say the contract is such a big mistake, because it's way, way too soon and way too premature to say that. He is in a slump at the plate. He is being a little uncharacteristic of Devers, but we do know the type of player that he is and just what he really can provide when he's at his best. He does like to have a, big summer surge, as we like to say, come June. That hasn't happened yet. Maybe it'll be more of a July surge this year. But like I said, he was placed with a lot of pressure on him going into this season. So I do think he deserves a little bit of slack from that standpoint, because it's a lot being put on him. And with the Red Sox being in the position that they're in right now, he really needs to be relied upon to hit consistently if they want to be taken seriously going into the playoff race. And the Red Sox have some strong hitters in the lineup that have also been able to pull that weight with him. But for the Red Sox and Devers, it would be absolutely huge for them if he gets back to being the Devers that we all know and love. And I do think that will come with time. I'm just saying that people need to be patient, because these things do take time, and we know the type of players Devers can be. And if come August this is still happening, then maybe we revisit the conversation and say, look, Devers is seriously struggling right now and they need to figure something out with him. And I do think somebody needs to work with him on his approach at the plate, whether that be Peter Fatsi or somebody needs to work with him on his approach at the plate more and kind of remind him of the discipline that he used to have at the plate. And I think everything will be okay with him. I am not very concerned about him. I know others on Twitter, Red Sox Twitter, feel a little bit differently about it. So I'm happy to have a discussion about Rafi. He's our guy, and he's the guy for the future, and he's going to be here for a long time. So we have to have faith in him at Red Sox Nation and keep the faith. I think he'll turn things around. I absolutely do. I know it's a little frustrating right now, but I truly believe that he's somebody who can turn things around and can really be back to hitting more consistently, and somebody we can rely on in the lineup to come up in a big spot, because lately I haven't been able to trust him in big spots when you need somebody to come in with runners on and you're down and you can tie the game or go ahead. He's not the hitter that I am picking to go up and be at the plate at that specific moment, and he used to be. So I think he can get back to that. It just really is going to take some time, but don't worry too much about it, because I do think he will turn things around. Somebody who has been a topic of discussion lately on Red Sox Twitter that I believe has been a really valuable asset to this team is Justin Turner. And it's not really quite talked about enough why he provides so much value to the team. So I'm going to touch on all of that coming up next. Just a reminder to follow and subscribe to Locked On Red Sox on any platform. The Twitter profile is at LO_Red Sox. So you can check out the show there, where I will be posting exclusive episode content, just conversation starters, talking about the team during games, and just fun interactions. So definitely follow Locked On Red Sox on Twitter. You can also follow the show on YouTube or any podcast streaming platform, wherever you get your podcasts, whatever's your biggest preference in terms of listening to podcasts, whether that's Spotify, Google Play, or Apple Podcasts, or any other podcast platform streaming service that you can think of. Definitely subscribe to Locked On Red Sox for your Red Sox content Monday through Friday, your first listen of every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you love the Red Sox, this is the place for you, because I do too. And I feel all the frustrations that you feel. I feel all the joys that you feel when things are going right. So just go on the emotional roller coaster with me. I need somebody to go through these struggles with, and go through the hard times with, and go through the happy times with too. So hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, share the show, leave some comments. Don't be afraid to interact with the episodes. Leave a review. I really appreciate your support and being able to, love the Red Sox as much as me and talk about them as much as me. So I look forward to your feedback and your insight on this team. And I am especially curious about your insight on Justin Turner. Obviously, the Red Sox acquired him in the offseason, primarily in need of a designated hitter, and he's also somebody who plays in the infield. He's served a variety of different roles this year, played a little bit of third base, primarily playing first base, giving Casas some off days, and he's DH'd. And the biggest thing that I enjoy about watching Justin Turner with the Boston Red Sox right now is his approach at the plate. He's a very, very disciplined hitter. He makes great decisions in terms of what pitches to swing at and what pitches to not swing at. He'll make pitchers work. He'll work pitch counts. He'll take walks. He's not afraid to do that. He'll crush baseballs to the third deck like he did the other night. And he'll hit for power. He'll hit singles and doubles. He surprisingly has 4 stolen bases this year, which you might be a little bit surprised to hear about Justin Turner. He had one the other day as well against the Twins. So it's cool to see Justin Turner stealing bases. So he really has done it all this year. 284 batting average, 77 hits, 40 RBIs, which is really impressive. He's doing it all, and he finds holes on the field. He knows where he should be hitting the ball. He takes walks, like I said. He has 30 total walks this year. So he knows how to approach different types of pitchers, and he's a good situational hitter. He is the type of hitter, like I had mentioned with Rafael Devers before, how I don't feel confident with him in those situations where it's a high leverage situation and you need somebody to come in and get that big hit with runners in scoring position or just runners on base in general. Justin Turner is that guy for me right now, and he has been that guy for a while, that when I'm sitting there watching a game and I'm trying to decide, oh, who do I want to see up at the plate right now? More often than not, that person is Justin Turner who pops into my head. He just is really patient, and it's really difficult for opposing pitchers. And he's somebody you want in your lineup because of all of those reasons. And off the field, he's just a great veteran leader to have in the clubhouse. He has so much experience. He's been in a variety of high pressure games. And for a team that's really focusing on bringing up a lot of young talent and trying to develop them within their system, you want a player like Justin Turner who can help guide some of those players who are starting to navigate through the process and learning what it takes to really make it at the major league level. So for Justin Turner to have him here, the Red Sox are very lucky. It was a very underrated signing during the offseason, but he's absolutely raked. And I am so grateful that the Red Sox picked him up. And this was another signing I'll admit I was unsure of before the season started. I liked the fact that he was a veteran that, from a locker room standpoint, would be good to have in the clubhouse. But on the field, I wasn't sure if he was still going to be able to be as productive as he was in the past. But he's been one of the Red Sox best hitters this season, and he's coming up big in those clutch situations where you need somebody. So the primary reason I wanted to talk about Turner is because I have had people ask me over the last couple weeks or so if I see Justin Turner being moved at the trade deadline. My answer is no. He will not get moved. And my biggest reasoning for that is whether the Red Sox are in contention or not at the trade deadline, you need somebody like Justin Turner on the team. He can play in the infield and he can DH. And with, Casas still developing and learning how to be a major league hitter and a major league fielder, it's just helpful to have Justin Turner. Now, I don't see him being here after this season. I do believe this is a one-year thing with him, but I believe he will be here for the whole season, regardless of whether they're in contention or not. And you may ask why they wouldn't think to trade him if they're only going to have him for a year anyway, but he's too valuable of a presence to get rid of, because if you're trying to flip Justin Turner for some prospects, who's going to DH on nights when, Duvall might need a break, or Casas has played a few consecutive games and might need a day off because he hasn't rested in 10 days, or Devers even, gets hurt maybe and they need somebody to fill in at third base. And Turner isn't necessarily a utility player because he can't really play every position in the infield and the outfield, but he is almost an corner infield utility player where he can play defense at third base, he can play defense at first base, and he can hit. So that to me is somebody that you need to keep around, especially while you're still developing players, because if you get rid of that big of a locker room presence whose leadership has been important to this team, then it's going to be worse to me, I feel, for the younger guys and their development process and adhere to that. So I think if you keep him on the team, regardless of where you're at the trade deadline, it can be really, really beneficial to continue to have him as almost a mentor for some of those players to be able to learn from. And the more that they see what he's doing right at the plate, the more they can implement that into their own game. So that's why I believe Justin Turner will not be moved at the trade deadline, regardless of where the Red Sox stand. His presence is too valuable the young players can learn from him. And to me, that's super important, is that learning process, because that is where they're at now, is the learning process. So you want people to be in there that can help them through that learning process. So I'm all for Justin Turner. He stays. If you have different thoughts on that, definitely let me know. We can talk about it for sure, but I'm a big fan of Justin Turner, and I will defend him, and I believe that he's here to stay for the whole season. Just a reminder again, everybody, don't forget to check out Locked On Red Sox every day, Monday through Friday. Your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. You can look forward to many more episodes with me of the show, where I will be bringing on guests that you may be interested in hearing from, and giving some hot takes along the way, and continuing to just show my passion for the Red Sox. And even though this past series against the Twins was frustrating, it's a new day, a new series starts tonight. Let's win this series in Chicago and move and then return home to face the Marlins, and just keep the winning ways going, because this is good baseball that the Red Sox are playing right now, and I hope it continues. I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. Enjoy the series. Let's hope the Red Sox get the job done, and I will catch you all on Monday's episode.